When did you buy this movie?
Like, as soon as it was released on Blu-ray.
When did we finally watch it?
This week.
Why did we wait so long?
We heard from your fiancé that it was awful.
All this and more on Gory Storytime.
Warning. Gory Storytime is a horror movie review show by a son and his dad who thought that letting his 5-year-old watch scary movies was acceptable. If you are offended by horror or talk about blood and gore by a child, or if you don't want horror movies from the 60s through today spoiled, then there is a remote stuck in your couch cushion next to potato chip crumbs. Use it. And of course, parental discretion is advised.
Why? You didn't use any.
Shut up and start the show.
Welcome to Gory Storytime. I'm your host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and his father, Craig, and this week we're doing our third of 4 movie sequels that we took a long time to watch.
That we have had in the house for a long while and not watched.
Not even a year ago, like a few months back, we did movies we took forever to get watched, basically. And this is kind of a sequel to that. Only this sequel came way quicker than us watching these sequels.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah, so we're huge fans of The Shining. I'm a fan of the book. He's not a fan of reading, so
that's a given.
He wouldn't know, but he's a fan of the Kubrick film.
I am.
So, and I have to be honest, I never read Dr. Sleep, so anything that didn't match up, I don't know.
Yeah.
I know a couple things from the facts that
I'm indifferent to the differences because I didn't know them.
We didn't go in knowing these things. But anyway, it's a sequel to The Shining. Young Danny Torrance grows up and still has the shine, becomes an alcoholic. We see him quit drinking. We see him going to AA. Oh, that's supposed to be anonymous. I shouldn't have said that. No. And he is helping another little girl who has the shine because there's now a group of creatures
shine vampires?
that, like, yeah, they basically suck out your soul, and only if you're
a shiner.
Not a shiner. If
I'm going to continue to call people shiners that shine.
That's okay. Anyway, the point is, this is the sequel to The Shining. They do go back to the Overlook in this, because how do you do a sequel to The Shining and not have the Overlook be part of it?
Basically.
But it's really just about him trying to stop these things from killing a bunch of kids with the shine, because they seem to go after kids mostly. So,
just something that I realized, we brought up the last time that this happened, but we did watch the director's cut instead of the regular cut.
So it had an extra half hour worth of footage. So it was a 3-hour movie.
It was a 3-hour movie. We watched 3 hours of a Shining sequel that took 40 years to come out.
Basically. Instead of 2.5 like the people that saw it in the theaters. So yeah, if you don't recognize some of the stuff we talk about, that's because we're on
possibly talking about 28 minutes you never got to see.
Yeah, exactly. So is there anything else you want to say about this?
Go watch this.
The premise. Yeah, watch it, and then we don't have to feel like we're spoiling things.
Because I will.
I try not to.
Oh, I'm gonna.
Well, I will say that this isn't a movie that, like, I expected until I heard about the book. Like, as soon as I heard the book, I knew there was going to be a movie because it's Stephen King and it's a sequel to The Shining. But, like, I never thought, and then what?
And then what? Because it was like, yeah, Jack freezes to death, and the end.
But anyway, why don't we show them the trailer so they can see what we're talking about?
Why don't we show them the trailer so they can see what we're talking about? Because I will. Just something that I realized, we brought up the last time that this happened, but we did watch the director's cut instead of the regular cut. So it was a 3-hour movie. It was a 3-hour movie. We watched 3 hours of a Shining sequel that took 40 years to come out. Basically.
But anyway, why don't we show them the trailer so they can see what we're talking about?
was a kid, there was a place. A dark place. They closed it down and let it rot. But the things that lived there...
Hello, Danny.
They come back.
Not many ride the bus this far north. You're running away from something?
I'm running away from myself, I guess.
Hi. You can hear me. You're magic. Like me.
I don't know about magic. I always called it the Shining. The world is a hungry place. A dangerous place.
These people, they hurt people like us.
These empty devils, they'll eat what shines. And they've noticed that little girl.
Well, hi there.
Get out of my head! Get out!
I haven't felt power like that in so long.
They're coming. Where are we going?
There's a place. You sure you want to do this?
I'm ready.
Yes, you run, dear. And then I will find you. And you will scream for years.
Come and play with us forever and ever.
All right.
Feels like it gives away so much.
But yet, there's so much in the movie, and
Like, left untold in that trailer.
yeah, so it's not so bad. Now, before we get into the behind-the-scenes information, what we need to do is say the same repetitive thing we say every week. We're not really here to review horror movies. No. Our thing is we like to sell products because then we get a cut. And this week we had, what was it? I think they took a bunch of gold doubloons and, threw them at our house. And for that, we have to say good things about these items. Gory Storytime is brought to you by What If, the Stephen King edition. We had young horror writers create alternative versions of King's bestsellers. What if Jack Torrance was a recovering alcoholic in AA before going to the Overlook? What if a teenage girl bought Christine? What if the Losers Club never went back to dairy as adults? What if Stephen King edition, coming soon to a bookstore near you.
And by Nostalgia, the board game that makes you the board game that makes you remember good times. We don't try to create anything new. Why would we, when we can just make you remember awesome times from the past? Nostalgia comes in various editions, all made to make you think you are enjoying the game when in reality, you just remember enjoying other things. Music, TV, movies, comic books, and more remind you of the best times in your life. Nostalgia, because it's easier than being creative.
All right. Now, anything else you want to say before we get into the behind the scenes, or as he likes to call it, the meat and beef?
Or as I like to call it, the meat and beef of the show. Yeah, go watch the movie, I've said.
Yeah, pretty much. You say that every week.
I do.
Even when it's a bad movie.
Yeah, I do.
You want to go first, or you want me to?
I will go first. Mike Flanagan painstakingly recreated the sets of the Overlook Hotel from blueprints acquired from Stanley Kubrick's estate.
In the scene where hospital cat Azzy jumps on the desk in front of Dan before he follows her to what should be an empty room, He puts down the magazine he was reading. It's the same 1978 issue of Playgirl magazine that his father, Jack Torrance, read in the lobby of the Overlook while waiting for Stuart Ullman and Bill Watson on closing day in The Shining.
Dr. John Dalton's room, in which Danny is interviewed for the orderly position, is identical to Stuart Ullman's office, where Jack Torrance was interviewed for the caretaker job in The Shining, right down to the paint color and the little American flag on the right side of the desk.
Stephen King first got the idea for Dr. Sleep in 1998 at a book signing when someone asked him what happened to Danny Torrance from The Shining. This was a question King had often asked himself. When people asked the question, King would jokingly reply, "Danny married Charlie from The Firestarter."
Oh.
King eventually started thinking seriously how old Danny was and what happened to Wendy, and decided to find the answers in a sequel.
Nice. It took a lot of negotiating to get this film made. Mike Flanagan had to convince Stephen King that despite his own distaste for Kubrick's Shining movie, audiences were more familiar with that version rather than The Shining in '97, and largely preferred the film to the miniseries. Therefore, this film had to be a sequel to Stanley Kubrick's classic film.
Ewan McGregor admitted that he doesn't really like horror, so he never watched The Shining until he started acting and felt he could no longer ignore its classic status.
Flanagan wrote the Overlook Hotel back into the story of Dr. Sleep, keeping its posterity consistent with the cinematic universe of The Shining.
So, in other words, it wasn't really in the book.
Right.
When writing Dr. Sleep, Stephen King had to be reminded of things from The Shining he had forgotten. Although most of his stories exist in a shared universe, like Dick Hallorann appearing briefly in It, for example, it's one of the few sequels he's actually written. Black House was another one, the Talisman sequel. And he did that with Peter Straub, too.
Yeah. The name of the cat that enters the room of the patients who are next to die in hospice Rivington House is Azzy, short for Azrael, who is the angel of death.
Dun, dun, dun. In the Dr. Sleep novel, Andy leaves a theater showing Raiders of the Lost Ark. In the film, the theater is showing Casablanca, which is Mike Flanagan's favorite movie.
The use of the heartbeat is an homage to The Shining. Throughout Dr. Sleep, the tempo of the heartbeat is used to increase or decrease tension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The True Knots, which is the name in the book for the evil group killing those who shine, their costumes were designed with the idea that they picked up fashion from past centuries in which they lived.
The Shining took many liberties with the Stephen King novel of the same name, one of the reasons why King himself disliked it. So audiences are generally split between fans of the book and fans of the film adaptation. According to Ewan McGregor, the biggest challenge was to make a sequel that would satisfy both of these groups.
Of course. Dan Stevens, Chris Evans, Matt Smith, and Jeremy Renner were all considered and met with the director for the lead role. Ewan McGregor ended up being cast with Stephen King's blessing.
The death flies Dan sees are taken directly from the novel and explained later in the film. They may be symbolically linked to the flies that are released by John Coffey whenever he cures a person from disease in The Green Mile, another Stephen King adaptation.
Because of the 8-year time jump, Azzy is played by two different cats, one young and one old, neither good at staying still.
Yeah, I noticed that. Actress Rebecca Ferguson said, while horror is not one of her favorite movie genres, she is a fan of Stephen King's novels. I don't see why we wouldn't want to make films out of everything that he writes. It's so adaptable. It's so understandable. It's so relatable. And the imagery, it's like you don't really have to make scenes images anymore. You just have to have the book. She also added that although she doesn't like violence directed at children, she happily made an exception for this film.
Happily. Halloran says, Ka is a wheel duck. This is a direct mantra from the Dark Tower book series. It means destiny is a wheel, and that brings us back to the same place to face our mistakes and defeats until we learn from them.
The landlady calls Dan a pup, which is what Jack called Danny while chasing him through the hotel in the novel of The Shining.
And in the novel, an infant, Abra, predicts September 11th's terrorist attacks. So, those are the facts as we know them.
Yes.
All facts are not verified. They're just the ones that we find online, so who knows with some of it. But I usually try to pick the ones that seem to be legit.
Yes.
Anyway, then there's the Rotten Tomatoes portion of the show where we tell you the Rotten Tomatoes score. I'm not going to get into how they do that. We say it every week. The 3 people that watch, they know because they've heard us say it week after week after week. So,
and everyone else in the world knows because...
No, a lot of people really don't. They get mad. But anyway, the critics average says that this movie is
78% approval rating, at least, yeah.
Yeah, and it was, the people have it at 89%.
Yes.
Which, all right.
Yeah.
So,
what
was your least favorite thing?
All right.
Which gives away that we liked it. Because I always go for the one that's hard, like the harder one to do.
Okay.
You don't notice that? I don't notice I always try to go with the one, if we liked it, least favorite first, and if you hated it,
well,
favorite.
It's really easy, actually. Spoiler alert, but his friend/landlord guy, Billy, is super cool. And he dies, and I hated that because there was no reason for it. It didn't further the story.
Okay, I don't think he was his landlord, dude.
Or a friend, whatever. The guy he paid every month to make sure he stayed at a place.
No, he was the guy that sponsored him when he went to AA. He met him in AA.
Well, one way or another, this guy was...
But he was a good guy.
Good guy. Really liked this Billy character. And one of the vampires did some dirty things.
Vampires.
Whatever.
They suck the
true knots.
Yeah,
the shine vampires.
No, they just suck the soul out of you, but they don't bite you. They don't. Anyway, whatever. My least favorite part. I guess my least favorite part is that. It's kind of tough. Honestly, it's the fact that they kept referring in a bunch of this. Information about it. They referred to the people that they hired to play characters from the first movie
as lookalikes,
and none of them do. They got Wendy's hair right, but as soon as you see her face, you're like, and that's not
the kid's
her.
Hair right too.
Yeah, but like the kid couldn't have looked any farther from like. The only way they could have made it less look like him is if they changed like either genders,
made him a girl or made him Spanish or black or something.
Exactly. Like it didn't look like Danny at all.
No, and she looked nothing like Olive Oil. So
right, exactly. And then they had that one character, Floyd, that they spoiler alert, Floyd from the first one comes back, but he's played by not Jack Nicholson.
Right.
Not doing, like, it was supposed to be Jack Torrance, but, like, as Floyd, and it definitely was nice. Like, it was bad. Like,
yes.
I didn't like that. Because they tried so hard to make everything match, the things that didn't stuck out big.
Yeah.
Bonus fact, they did use 3 shots from the original movie in this. And one of them was the elevator doors.
Yeah, I know. I said that at the time, and you said, no, you're dumb.
Well, because I didn't... it was before it happened, and I was like, I doubt it.
Well, and then it happened, and you still called me dumb for it. So.
Well, I call you dumb because you're dumb.
Well, I was right, so...
But it doesn't make him smart.
I didn't say it made me smart. It made me right.
What was your favorite scene?
Well, it was shown a little bit in the trailer... And spoiler again, because I don't care. Watch the movie if you don't want me to spoil it. But there's a scene in which Danny possesses the little girl in the back seat of one of the True Knots because they finally got the girl and they're gonna kill her or whatever and get her shine thing. And he takes over her body, and with the magic powers that are the shine, he crashes them into a tree and kills the dude.
Well, leaves him in a lot of pain first, and then kills him.
And it's like, if that's not one of the most badass things.
Well, my favorite scene comes just before that, when him and his buddy, the buddy that you were upset died, took out all but two.
Right.
The one driving the girl and the one they were driving to were the only ones left. Just, the battle was great. They just, yeah, I liked it.
It was great. Just so great.
I definitely enjoyed that fight. Because they didn't make
Except for the ending.
Super easy, barely an inconvenience or anything. They just...
I mean, these guys were very not invincible against bullets.
True.
To say the least.
But to be fair, they never said they were. They're not vampires. They're not werewolves.
Okay, but vampires aren't impervious to bullets.
Yes, they are.
A bullet will still go through a vampire.
Right, go through, not hurt.
That'll hurt.
No, like they can turn into smoke and just let it go through. Like, no. The silver bullet thing, that's the werewolf.
I know.
Anyway, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this movie?
I'm gonna go just barely above what the people have it at and say a 9.
See, I'm gonna go 8.5 because I can't give it. I think I gave The Shining a 9.
I know what I gave The Shining.
Maybe I gave it a 10.
I gave it a 10.
Like, it's definitely not as good as its predecessor.
But it is amazing.
But it's worth the 3 hours. Like, you're going to enjoy it. Like,
I'm glad that we watched the 3-hour version because I'm already left wanting more of it.
Yeah, like, if we watched the shorter one, he would have been like, now we have to watch it again. Director's cut.
Right.
And it's better to just do the director's cut first.
Yes, and it was just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
We loved it.
But
anyway,
my fiance standard corrected.
Yeah, she corrected herself. She's like, I don't know what I was on about. This is great.
I just must have been in a bad place because this is one of the best movies. And it's like, it's really good.
Right.
Overwhelmingly at points.
Anything else you want to say?
Go watch this.
You say that.
Go give them your money.
Throw this stuff up on the side. He's not saying anything new.
You can watch this show on Fact TV channel 1082, Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. and Fridays at 7 p.m.
You can like us on Facebook, and when I say us, like I say every week, I mean Fact TV and Gory Story Time. Got over 1,000 likes on my page for this. So
you can go to fact8.com, watch a bunch of back episodes of this, as well as many other pieces of entertainment that they make.
And you can follow us on the Twitter. I am at Craig Jakes, all one word, all lowercase.
I'm at Jiggly Firmbrain. I've got, I don't remember how many tweets waiting for me to tweet them because I keep not doing it.
Yeah. Did you end up sending yourself the one before the show started today?
No, because
I don't even remember what it is.
But boobs you can sit on.
Don't ask. All right.
Don't tell. All right.
Also, check out my YouTube channel. Just type in Gory Story Time, and the two that'll come up is mine and Fact TV. Like, subscribe, smash that notification, all those things.
Yes.
That's helpful to everybody involved.
And until next week, with our last of 4 sequels we put off because we're jackasses.
We're pretty sure we just watched the one we're going to do. We had a couple up in the air, but
yeah,
I'm not going to announce it just in case we change our minds.
I mean, we still got to watch the other one.
Right. Anyway.
Until next time, I've been your host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and father, Craig.
And sweet dreams.